Can I ask one last question of you, Mr. H?
Yeah, of course.
Does it concern you that this is a Hulu thing?
No, because Hulu just distributes it. This is made by Spyglass Media Group, so they would be.
Sure.
They
I
were
have
the
a
production
follow-up to
company.
that.
Okay.
I have a follow-up to that.
And I think it made its way to Hulu because also Fox is part of the distribution deal too, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
So
actually.
technically, this is Disney.
They just look at the trailer.
Disney got Hellraiser back, which is hilarious. They sold off.
I mentioned
Anyway.
and then they got it back again.
Yeah, another follow-up to that, because like Book of Blood, if it had been any good, that could be like a whole start of a series of Book of Blood movies. The same thing they tried to do with Lionsgate a decade ago. Didn't happen then. Don't think it's happening now. Is Hulu the right place? Or will Hulu kill any chance of sequel prospects? That is my worry with Hellraiser. I think this looks so good. I want sequels. I worry that on Hulu, we're not going to get sequels.
Where is it going to be?
Platform.
Where's it going to be outside the U.S.? I guess that's the first question you have to ask, because Hulu is only U.S. based. So
the interesting thing about
it's going to be a lot to piracy because of Hulu. Going to be a lot.
Yeah, well, so Prey was released on Disney Plus, but that's because it's 20th Century
but Disney
Fox
Plus
property.
is worldwide.
It was Hulu here in the US though for Prey.
But
I would imagine that around the world it's going to be Star 20 places.
Let him finish. Yeah, let him finish. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe. That's the interesting thing about this is we don't quite know where it's going to be released yet. They haven't actually said. From what I know, Prey was available on Disney Plus in the UK, but that's because it's a 20th Century Fox property owned directly by Disney, right? A subsidiary. So it makes sense. This being distributed by Hulu, Spyglass Media Group may have a different distribution channel worldwide. We don't know. Like, I would hope it's going to be on Hulu, which means it will be hopefully on Disney Plus or another part of Disney Plus in, say, the UK. Someone pointed out Star, so I'm guessing Star in like Canada or things like that. I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah, Fox is listed as the main production company though, so
I see.
Technically, it's a Disney picture. Well, that's what I have on
That's
Wiki.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's been a long time since Disney was in the
20th Century Fox, Spyglass, and Phantom 4. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, then maybe it will, but that's a good sign. I say interesting, but that's still positive. That leads the potential for it to be distributed on Disney Plus in the UK. Then, but
yeah,
it doesn't concern me that it's on Hulu. Put it that way. I think Hulu, judge the most recent projects coming out. For instance, there might be a change of pace. There might be a change of studio heads. Maybe a change of acquisition head at Hulu. They clearly are producing or at least distributing some much higher quality content than they have been. So I don't know. Like, I wouldn't say it's concerning. As Andre says, I think the main concern is just that it may not get a sequel.
Yeah, that's
it does look good.
I mean, what's the point if we have a great movie here and it could be a great franchise and it's killed dead in its tracks because it's on Hulu? I think that we'd be getting more Books of Blood movies right now if it were not for Hulu. So whatever relationship Clive Barker has going with them is certainly not benefiting the longevity of his products. I mean,
well, it's not benefiting him or the fans, is it?
Yeah, really bad place for it. Really bad place.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think
because if it drops on Hulu and there's no proper release anywhere else, by the time there is, they'll have lost half the audience to piracy.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, it's easy to get a quick rip, 4K rip, and chuck it online. Like
super easy, barely inconvenience. Like they're shooting themselves in the foot here with a shotgun.
Yeah. Well, exactly the same with ends, right? Like it's the same kind of principle. Like if you don't expect that to kill the momentum from a theater, it's going to. But this is only distributed via a streaming platform, so it has to be a worldwide simultaneous release on a platform. Otherwise, there's no benefit from it.
And that's what happened with Books of Blood. Of course, that movie had problems of its own, But I believe that on the right platform, we'd be getting sequels right now. And I also think that with this Hellraiser, sequels would be a lock if it had been a different platform than this.
Yeah, you think so, because David Bruckner himself, he doesn't have a lot going on. Like, I don't think he's signed on to anything else at the moment. So, even with him attached, or at least even with him attached to this, you'd think that there would be the potential
I would say
for him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, considering how cheap they shot this, if it's even remotely decent hit for Hulu, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do another 2 or 3 just like it.
Yeah,
because didn't you say, Mr. H, that it only cost like a couple million to make this, or not even?
I actually have no idea on the budget.
I thought I heard from you.
Genuinely have no idea.
I think this looks fairly expensive.
Yeah, I
honestly heard from somebody it didn't cost that much, from what I had heard. Somebody told me about the price, and I can't remember.
Of course, it didn't cost as much relative to Star Wars, but relative to previous Hellraiser movies. I mean, to me,
it's more.
This movie
be much more than the last one. Yeah, the last one had like 300 grand or something like that, like nothing. This,
exactly. Like
we would say in the millions. I would say easy.
I would say that this one, of course, I haven't seen the whole thing.
They're claiming a $14 million budget.
What was that?
The claim here is a $14 million budget. I heard it was a lot less than that. I heard it was less than that.
I can believe 14 million. I can genuinely believe 14 million.
To me, this looks like a 10 million plus movie based on just the stills we have seen, the cinematography, the lighting. I mean, that stuff, that look,
prosthetics.
That's expensive.
Alone, they're like 10 grand a piece for a cheap suit.
I just say that seems expensive, but because I heard it was a lot cheaper than that from what I heard. But then again, there could be some laundering involved with it as well. But
I think that there's going to be like our vicinity of 10 million. 10 plus, or minus 5.
Because if this is the case, then they spent as much as they did on the Halloween sequel. Then
I can believe
that, though. I can genuinely believe that. There's a few things to also consider on top of that. Is they shot on location, right? So they were not on location. They weren't in a labyrinth, but they were on location. They were in Serbia.
Serbia, luckily, is relatively low cost, but
it is, but it was still shot kind of during the pandemic-ish, when they still would have had to add in the extra precautions that were probably going around, transport, travel, so on and so forth. So that would inflate the budget. But just how it looks alone, I would say absolutely that sort of 10 million, I would say, is cheap for what it looks like. The suits are very, very expensive. I honestly would say that's about right. I genuinely would. And I would also say David Bruckner's coming off of quite a good list of films at the moment. His fee would be reasonable. He doesn't command huge fees, but it would be a reasonable fee. It wouldn't be a
well, and here's the thing:
cheap as some of the Hellraiser directors.
I may have heard "quote unquote" wrong, as Sunshine State of Marv says here, but here's another thing we've heard: a lot of these productions don't cost nearly as much as they say. They will add a bunch to it. In fact, go listen to our Gary Tunnicliffe interview about the Exorcist 4 and how that was handled when they shot it twice, literally shot the movie twice. And they told everybody it cost twice as much as it actually did.
Yeah, that's nonsense, isn't it? Absolutely.
That's typical Hollywood for you,
Yeah.